you can't get well. Gotta figure this stuff in
This is Melvin Carr with the Thank You Lord Productions, TLY, and my guest today is Broadcasting Hall of Famer Edna Parrish. How are you this morning, Edna?
I'm fantastic. Had a great Thanksgiving and thankful that I am here this morning.
Well, I am so proud and so happy to have you as my first guest on our podcast, coming right here live from Cincinnati, Ohio. Edna, as you are aware, I and Florence Parker were at your inductee ceremony, and it was a gala event. Tell me how you felt being up there in front of all those people and getting ready to receive your induction into the Hall of Fame.
Thanks. No, it was really a tremendous feeling being inducted into the Dayton Broadcasters Hall of Fame. It was actually the 10th induction. The Broadcast Hall of Fame really works hard to enshrine people who they feel that have been very instrumental in supporting the community of Dayton, Ohio, and around the world when it comes to their broadcasting career. So I felt really tremendous, really good.
Well, Edna, as I am aware, I looked up much of your information personally on the podcast Explorer or whatever, internet, and it says that your career expands over 45 years. Can you give us a little brief synopsis of how you started in this business and how you have prolonged the trials and tribulations of the journey to the top of the mountain?
Well, it's interesting to say 45 years. It seems like a short time to me, but 45 years really has been a long time. It all started in my hometown of Dayton, Ohio, and I began to broadcast from a community radio station, WCXL Radio, and I hosted a program that was actually Jazz Kaleidoscope. And in that program, I interviewed guests, I talked with other artists, jazz artists, I played music, and from there I began to become known in the community. Applied and received a job at WDAO Radio, WDAO FM, the soul of Dayton, and I worked at Dayton Radio, WDAO Radio for about 7 or 8 years as News and Public Affairs Director at WDAO Radio, and so did some broadcasting there, hosting some shows as well. And I left Dayton, Ohio in 1986 and moved to Cincinnati, where I began to become News Director at WCIN Radio. And so I was at WCIN until they closed, and then started working at WAVI Radio in Dayton, Ohio. So it really has been a tremendous opportunity to work in broadcasting. And I got my start in Dayton, having attended Dayton International School of Broadcasting and training at Broadcast Workshop Incorporated as well.
Oh, that is beautiful. That's beautiful. Tell me, why did you leave Dayton when you were peaking as a broadcaster?
A lot of people always say that you can do good in your hometown because everybody knows you and you're popular and people love you. And I always felt like if I really had something to offer the world, then I could do it outside of Dayton. And so I thought, well, let's go 45 miles down the road into Cincinnati. Okay. And I had applied several places, but Cincinnati gave me the opportunity to come to WCIN Radio. And I became News and Public Affairs Director, just striking out to see if I really had what it took to be in broadcasting, because at that time, it was difficult for African-American women and women, period, to get into broadcasting.
Well, tell me in reference to the hardship of breaking into the broadcasting field. We just can't seemingly get away from discrimination.
Well, I don't know. I think it was just a sign of the times during that day. And it was discrimination. And I think that I was told in the beginning that I would not be good in radio because I didn't have the voice. And the voice meant that I didn't have a deep voice. My voice has always been soft and it carried. But I think that once I began to learn to communicate with people, looking at them eye to eye through the radio waves, I could do that. And I knew that once I began to communicate with people and began to use my voice, then people would hear me And then that's when I thought I would be successful. And sure enough, it actually worked out. My dad told me, talk to people, talk to them as if you were looking at them. And that's what I did. I talked and I smiled and emphasized who I was and what I wanted them to know about me.
Oh, that's great. So you talk to the people just like you were sitting there with them, right live, right in front of your face.
Absolutely. And I think that, we can do that. Oftentimes we think that we have to use big words. We have to, be very proper. But people want you to be average, everyday people that can communicate and talk to them and communicate in a way that they can understand. Because after all, that's what communication is. It's a two-way process from me to you and from you to me. And give people a chance to talk and listen when people are talking to you. And that's what I did. I'm a good listener. And I don't want to talk too much today, but that's what it takes. It took for me to do that anyway at that time.
This is your show, and you're going to talk. You're going to talk. Tell me about your Straight Talk show.
Well, Straight Talk Live actually is a show that I hosted when I began working in Cincinnati at the Wiz radio station, 100.9 The Wiz. And Straight Talk Live was a Sunday public affairs program. I hosted that for the Wiz and for the Buzz radio station for 12 years. And so after I left those stations and began to do some experimental work in podcasting and broadcasting, I always took Straight Talk Live with me wherever I went. And once I came back to Dayton, Ohio, after having been out on the road with my husband and his job, transferring to different stations, Straight Talk Live was a program that I thought about reviving. And that's what I did. It became Straight Talk Live with Edna Parrish. And that's what it goes under now. It is a program that I think is important to the people, is that we talk about some insightful times. We talk with thought leaders. We talk with opinion makers, celebrities, authors, and artists that people have known but haven't heard from in a while, or new people who have interesting topics that I think are important for people to know about.
Well, Edna, tell me, in reference to your husband's career, what cities did you have to move to?
Well, we moved to Atlanta, was the first city that we went to. He worked in ministry, and so he worked for large churches in communication and as a communications director. So Atlanta, Cleveland, Ohio, Austin, Texas, Oklahoma, Edmond, Oklahoma, right across the bridge from Oklahoma City. We lived in Holland, Michigan. We lived in Illinois. Quite a number of years, 15 years, in fact, on the road traveling with him. And so wherever he went, I went. And God always was good to me because there was opportunities in every city to work in radio and be a broadcaster.
Wow, that's beautiful. And you said God has always been good to you. Tell me about your program, Voices. I looked up there and I said, what is this? And tell me more about your program, your Voices outreach program.
Okay, Voices of Courage is a program that I began in 2006. Now, that was long before, or right when social media was just coming about. And I wanted to find a program that I could use to interview people who had made life-transforming situations important in their lives. And so they had given their lives to Christ. But everybody, as you know, we all weren't born with a silver spoon in our mouth, and we all weren't born knowing who Jesus Christ was. There are people who have been in prison. There are people who have been prostitutes, people who have robbed banks and done many different things that they weren't proud of. But because of their relationship with Christ, truly giving their life to Christ, they had made some changes in their life, and they believed in that and walked straight. And so those were the people that I sought out to be voices of courage, those life-transforming stories of people who really, truly had made impact on the world and made changes in their lives as well.
Wow. What does a person have to do to join your organization?
Well, Voices of Courage is a program that once you feel like you have had an opportunity to change your life, and God has actually changed it because you can't do that. That's something that works through Christ, but you go to him and you seek him. And these are people that even if they have heard about Voices of Courage or they want me to know about what they've done in their life, they contact me. I will give them information about what we can do. I sit down with people and I talk to them and I interview them. And once I do that, then that's when this program comes about. That was the very first podcast that I did. I interviewed people over the phone, just like we're talking today, and edited it. And then I put those in short form and then put those on a website. and they become voices of courage. So they contact me, I contact them and do the interview. And then, God tells me who's kind of on the up and up and who's not. So far, all the people that I've talked to have actually done well in their life, and they haven't gone back, haven't done anything negative. So that's how Voices of Courage works.
Great. And I see that you also encourage them to join a church or join your church, or do you go to a set church?
No, I don't encourage them to join my church. Most people have a church they go to, or if they don't, that's just an opportunity that I put on the website for people to be able to know if they want to find a church, if they want to go to church, or if they want to give their life to Christ, or they want to find out more about it, then you can explore the opportunity to go to that website and find people on voicesofcourage.net. And it will check you into a situation where you can learn about a church to go to, or learn more about giving your life to Christ if you haven't done that as yet.
Well, let me switch a little bit back to all the different cities, Atlanta, Oklahoma, Austin, Cleveland. What was that journey like?
It was really interesting because I think all my life I've known that, I love communicating with people, whether you're African American, Asian, Hispanic, white, it didn't matter. But we had a chance to work with a lot of people in diverse communities. So working with a church didn't mean he was with a Baptist church. He was sometimes with Presbyterian churches for the most part. And those were churches that where a lot of white people were, people that of different racial backgrounds. Mm-hmm. And so we had a chance to communicate with them. And it was so interesting meeting women. I did one program that I did. It's called Women at the Well. And so we met at the well, like when Mary went to the well and she was looking for water. And Jesus told her, you will never thirst again, because the water I have for you will be water that will be transforming your life and will be good for you. So Women at the Well brought together women of all kinds of backgrounds, Mexican, Hispanic, women from Persian women. It didn't matter. But our common goal was to know Christ. And so we would never thirst again because we came together for that reason.
Wow, that's very nice. Tell me about some of the your friends that surprised you that night of the ceremony that came up from, as I recall, Florida, and they were coming in from everywhere. And you said, "What? Where did you folks come from?" And they were there. So tell me how.
You're at the Dayton Broadcasters Hall of Fame dinner. Mm-hmm. You send out invitations and you don't know who's going to come, but the people that came from out of town and then were in town, many of my family members were there, my friends. First of all, you came. I really appreciate you, and Florence Parker from Cincinnati came, and I really appreciate that. Anjali McGuire, who used to be my news anchor at The Wiz, I hired her right out of Central State University, and that was her first job. And so she went on to do great things in Minnesota and eventually Louisville, Kentucky. And then now she is in St. Petersburg, Florida, where she hosts a program there. And she's still on the radio. They call her the Queen Bee. And that was my girl. I was so shocked and surprised to see Anjali and her friend Danny Roundtree. That was just truly an honor to see them. And then Tori Turner was there from The Wiz, formerly with The Wiz. She was known as Portia Benz. So those are people that were I was just shocked to see everybody there. So they said, we would come. We would come. And so I really appreciate that as well. So I don't take anyone or anything for granted.
Well, as they do on the red carpet in Hollywood, what were you wearing that night? You looked very, very attractive.
I was not wearing any particular designer outfit, but I did have on a gold brocade and lace dress, and so I thought that was very pretty.
I thought that was very pretty too. So that gold embraced dress that cost you like $100,000 or what? I'm retired now, and so I live on a retired budget, but I put it in layaway, let's say, and I was able to get it out in time for the dinner. So you got it out. I didn't even think they still had layaway.
Oh yeah, they did at my shop in Dayton where I shopped at.
Well, you have to give me that address. Do they sell men's clothing?
No, just women's clothing. They do just women's clothing.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, tell me in addition to your working career, how were you handling your family career? Because I met your son.
You did, yes, yes. My son is oh, he's a strong, handsome young man. I needed him to help me escort me down that aisle and help me get up on the stage. The stage was kind of tricky getting up
Yeah,
on
yeah,
stage,
it was.
but he's doing well. And I have a grandson.
Oh, okay. You
I
got a
have his
grandson?
name is my son's name is Craig Howell,
Uh-huh.
and my grandson is Christian Howell. And then I have a granddaughter, Lene Love, and so she lives in Virginia. And so she wasn't able to come, but family's doing fine. I did come here today to help support my family, my sisters and brothers that are still here. I have two sisters that are in nursing homes, and a brother and another sister who are ill. I come from a family of 9 of us, and so there are 6 left. And so we were together for Thanksgiving holiday,
Oh,
and
great.
so I'm here. I'm the big sister, and so I do all I can to support them as well.
I think I had talked to you when you had an emergency. I think your sister had fallen. And
She did,
for
yes,
some kind of
yes.
way, we just kept talking to each other that day. I was misdialing and calling you back. And I don't know if I disconnected with you or whatever. And we said a prayer together. And
Absolutely, yes.
you said that your sister was going to be all right.
So far, so good. And that's one thing that my mom and dad always impressed upon us, no matter what successes we have in life, that we never look back and look down on anyone, and always think about your sisters and brothers and do all you can for them. And so in every way, I do what I can to help support them and for others. And I think that's what gives me such a big heart. I think in broadcasting, radio is a fun job, has been a fun job. I've been all around the United States covering stories, big and small, communities covering stories, big and small. And it didn't matter whether it was a city hall, if it was down in the West End in Cincinnati, or if it was down at somebody's crack corner. If there was something happening and it was important for the community to know about, then I would be on it and reporting about it.
Okay. And I know that you had on one of my representatives that I am her business manager, Taking Flight, Linda McQueen and Bertha Teese, on your Straight Talk show. And that was broadcast live over television, correct?
Right. That was on Straight Talk Live with Edna Parrish. That's the video broadcast that I do. And so it was truly important to get them on. That was when I first started doing the show. I believe it was Taking Flight, breaking down barriers in the airline industry.
Yes, ma'am.
And they were 2 African American women who fought for the rights of men and women in the airline industry. Was a journey that they wrote about, Linda McQueen and her friend Bertha Teese. So great story and a great opportunity to interview them as well.
Thank you so much for that. Now, if you would share with my listening audience, what seemingly was the greatest trial or tribulation you had during your career to the Top of the Mountain Hall of Famer broadcaster?
The greatest tribulation. I don't quite understand what you mean by tribulation.
We experience in our lives ups and downs.
Mm-hmm.
What do you feel were your greatest ups or obstacles or journeys that you got through?
I think probably each job that I went to, there were always challenges and things that you have to overcome, whether the companies who hired me and general managers in radio always said, you know what you're doing, so we're not going to hold you back. If you see something that needs to be done, you go ahead and do it. And so I can remember in Cincinnati when we did the Derek Turnbow Fund Drive, it was a kid who was shot while watching a fight at Taft High School. This was way back in the early 1990s, I believe.
Bystander.
Yeah, he's a bystander, innocent bystander. And so the kid, he wasn't even in the fight, but somebody shot a gun and Derek was shot. And so I went on Straight Talk Live, the show that I did that Sunday, and I began to talk about the program and him being shot. And so his mom even called in and she told me she didn't know what she was going to do. Derek, they didn't know if he was going to live or die. They didn't have insurance.
Mm.
And so my heart just said, okay, people, here's what we got to do. We're going to raise some money for Derek Turnbow. And so I went on the air. I hadn't gotten permission from anybody, but
Oh,
my heart,
wow.
my
Okay.
heart said, do it. And so the program director at that time did not like the idea. We can't do that. Everybody else will want somebody to raise money for them. And I said, we have to do this. And money started pouring in. And so the next thing you know, weeks and weeks and months went by. We ended up raising over $200,000 for Derek Turnbow. And that
Wow.
money went into a special fund and savings account for Derek Turnbow and for his family to be able to use it. I tell you, everybody was donating money from the prisons, from the Hamilton County, from Cincinnati City Council. People on the streets were just bringing money in, and so we accounted for it. I remember Ted Berry's son, Ted Berry Jr., he helped us with doing everything legally and setting up our accounts and everything. And so that was a challenge for me because when your inside program director says no, but then your owner and your general manager says yes, you had a fight on your hands. So that was one of the biggest challenges, but I say one of the best things that happened. I think
Oh,
it was a
that
big
is
challenge.
that
And
is
then I
so
went
much.
to Forsyth County, Georgia to cover a march in 1986. I think I worked for WCIN then. And that's when white people did not want black people to live in the county in Forsyth, Georgia. And so I went
Mm.
down there with a bus of men and women and covered that, and then coming face to face with members of the Klan.
Oh,
It
wow.
was really eye-opening. It was really eye-opening. And the Million Man March and Million Woman March, all those things, were triumphs that had to be overcome. But I didn't do it by myself. I had God on my side and on my right shoulder and left shoulder. So we pulled through.
Well, that's a testimony right there in itself. I didn't realize that you had raised that much money for our fallen youth, Derek, and
Derek Turnbow, right? He
Turnbow.
did pass on,
Yeah.
and his mom, they named a street after him in the
Yes,
West End, Derek Turnbow
yeah,
Drive.
near the
Mom and
District
mom and
One police station. I think it's
yes, right in the West End, right. And his mom was able to use the money to help pay bills and to help have a better living situation for
that's
herself. And again, like I said, Ted Berry Jr., Ted Berry Sr.'s son, handled all the legalities of it. So we did that at the Whiz. That's one of the big things that we always did, community projects, and that was one of the big ones.
okay. How was it working with the mayor of the city, Ted Berry?
Ted Berry had retired by the time I moved to Cincinnati in 1989. Ted Berry had moved on, from politics, but I had a chance to meet him, interview him on my show, and work with him. He's a very easy person to work with, as were all the other people from the community from back in the day. And then working with Roxanne Qualls, the former mayor, Dwight Tillery, all those people were great to work with in the community. And they really welcomed the Whiz because it wasn't a person that came through that city that I did not interview or talk to them or had them on my program. So I think I was really wonderful to be able to be in that position and to use it in that manner, a platform for everybody, not just for me, but it was for everybody.
Tell me, Edna, what do you do next? What's on the horizon for Edna Howe Parrish next?
Well, I'll continue with my my Straight Talk Live with Edna Howe Parrish program and video podcast. I call it video podcast or blog. I'll continue doing that, and then I'm working with DATV in Dayton, and they want me to produce a show where I'm living now, currently in Dayton, that highlights the Dayton issues as well.
Okay, so you're keeping up with all the current events, and you're the news reporter. How do you report the news? You get the news, or you have special sources or moles of people in high designated spots?
I think, like most people, today news is for our process, things change so much. We use the internet a lot, and then people
Oh,
call me
okay.
and give me tips and information. So there's no secret to it anymore. Back in the day, it used to be you had to go out and find it. And when things happen, people call you, you go out to investigate. And still that happens too, because it's just me doing what I do as a volunteer. So I don't have a staff of people. So I keep my phone busy. I keep the internet busy. And that's just how you get news. And you communicate with people. I have people that contact me today that I have known for years. Every city that I lived in, I have people that are still, my contacts for today.
Great.
And also every day, I still go to work every day. I work at a local charter school and work as a teacher's aide. So that's something that I do. I think that's fun.
Are you moonlighting? Are you moonlighting on me with this little part-time job of going to the Hall of Fame as a broadcaster? Does your employer know that you're working double jobs?
You know what? I don't think they care, but I really don't promote a lot of things. I think that's one thing about me. People say that you keep secrets a lot, don't you? I say, I don't necessarily keep secrets, but I don't tell everything that I know.
Okay. Well, I want to tell you a secret. I don't know if I told you that I am also a graduate of Central State University. And that night, you guys gave a scholarship to a young lady from Central State University. I think was it for a full 4-year ride, or was she already like a freshman? And
she was already attending school, but the scholarship was there for her to help supplement her education. And we also gave a scholarship to a student from the University of Dayton as well.
Beautiful.
So that's what the proceeds from that Hall of Fame banquet went to. And that's one thing that we do. We have to honor pioneering journalists from Dayton, Ohio, who have gone on to continue broadcasting, and we also help support students in college to continue their careers in broadcasting.
I'm going to give you advance notice. We're going to be ending the program in about 3 minutes. Is there anything that you want to tell our radio audience about you, your life, or anything? Please.
I think that it's been a truly honor for me to be able to be in the career field of broadcasting. I love it. I used to listen to radio oftentimes, when I was little and young, and I just always thought it was important. The people inside the radio, they were so important to me to be able to hear what they had to say. And I knew that was something that I wanted to do, so I set my sights on it. I think that, having been in school and studied, reading and writing is just something that just came to me naturally. So I appreciate having had the honor to be able to be in radio broadcasting. And because I'm curious and because I like to read, I think that's where it all comes from. Having that curiosity, wanting to know why something works, why something happened, and how you can get involved in it, and how you can support other people in their efforts as well.
Thank you. I want to personally thank you for being my friend and honoring me by being my first cast and my first podcast guest. And you have done a beautiful job. And we're going to get to the ending. And again, thank you so much. May God continue to bless you and your family and your friends.
Thank you. It's been an honor. Thank you, Carr.
All right. Bye-bye.
Here we go. Say you got sick and you can't get well. Gotta figure this coming from the pits of hell.